And we've caught up with Green Party leader Annamie Paul in Toronto today. Good to see you again, Ms. Paul, and thanks for taking time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and welcome to Corktown Commons. We are here in Corktown Common. It's wonderful to be here with you today. We are steps away from a new project that's about to get underway, which is the Foundry. Some people will remember the Save the Foundry project, which was a community initiative to save one of the historical sites in the neighborhood, which was under threat of demolition. And it's really a demonstration, everything that you see around you, as well as that project, of what people can do together with some ambition and determination and some cooperation and collaboration with government as well. With respect to inclusivity, it's important to recognize that Parliament, as it stands at this moment, is not a welcoming place for many people. It is a place where many people who should be able to serve and who are ready to offer their experience, their education, their perspective in service of Canada and in service of good public policy find that there is no place for their service. On le voit dans les paroles de Moumelak Kakak, who said,
"Every time I walk onto House of Common grounds, speak in these chambers, I am reminded every step of the way I don't belong here. I have never felt safe or protected in my position, especially within the House of Commons."
Or Jody Wilson-Raybould, who wrote in her letter announcing her departure from federal politics, "From my seat over the last 6 years, I have noticed a change in Parliament, a regression. It has become more and more toxic and ineffective while simultaneously marginalizing individuals from certain backgrounds." And Celina Cesar Chavez, who stepped down after the 2019 election and was interviewed recently about her experience in Parliament, who said, "When you're strong and assertive, you're labeled and you're pushed out. The system tries to grind you away." Alors, quel est le résultat de tout ça? Talented people are either choosing not to run at all or they're leaving quickly. The price is simply too high for service. This should concern us all, because this is not only a waste of talent, but it is a waste of talent at a time when we need it the most. We are being faced with unprecedented challenges. We are being faced with unprecedented opportunities. And the way that we are going to seize those opportunities and address those challenges is by making ourselves as open as possible to the best ideas, and those come from everywhere. We also know that diversity in politics creates better public policy, more sustainable, less unintended consequences. And so when we fail to be open and inclusive and welcoming, we are failing ourselves. And then we have partisanship. The partisanship that has ensured that we are failing to do our best work because we are obsessed with it. The 2019 election was, I believe, and I know a fact checker will check me if it's not correct, but if I remember correctly, it was the election where the most one-term MPs decided not to stand for re-election. On avait eu tout un groupe de députés qui ont décidé de ne pas se présenter dans l'élection de 2019. And they said it was because they felt ineffective. They didn't see the point. They were at the pinnacle of their professional lives and sitting in a committee with notes that had been written out by the central office for them to say day after day with no consideration for what they could contribute wasn't interesting, and they left. And we saw during the pandemic how incredibly important it was in the early days for all institutions to work together. We saw at the outset that political parties still could, in fact, put aside partisanship to work together for all Canadians. C'était un moment extraordinaire, mais malheureusement, c'était un moment court. Because just as quickly as we saw that cooperation and collaboration, we saw it disappear into a puff of smoke. And again, to come back to Jody Wilson's letter, what she said is that federal politics is, in her view, increasingly a disgraceful triumph of harmful partisanship over substantive action. We saw a return to common patterns of self-interested partisanship, game playing, jockeying for advantage. And quite honestly, I believe that this election is a culmination of exactly that kind of hyper-partisanship. Because at the end of the day, I'm looking at everyone when I say this, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Why are we in this election? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait ici dans une élection? It really is the exemplification of this hyper-partisanship that is killing the spirit of good ideas and good public policy in our House of Commons. And to close with another quote from Mumala Kakak, which really just summarizes it. It is possible to create change. It can be started here in the House of Commons and reflected in Canada. I agree, je suis absolument d'accord, et ça commence maintenant dans cette élection. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, it's weird. If I can quote Charlie Angus, someone can act racist in the House of Commons and not get kicked out, and someone can call them out for doing something racist and get kicked out. I don't know. You figure that out.